Welcome to the final part of your Design Your First Pitch Deck course. I'm Jenna, and I've been on this journey with you right from the very beginning. And this is such a key part of the program. You've been on a phenomenal journey so far. You've developed your story, you've built your pitch deck, you've designed it in a way that looks great. Now it's the time to practice it. I can't stress enough how important this part is, because it's so easy to think that when we've got our pitch deck ready, we're ready to go and we can start sending it out and start delivering it in our meetings. If we don't practice it, it's really missing an opportunity to really finalize that impact that we have with our pitch, and just check that it all comes together and flows as well as we think it does when we put it together. So really thinking about practice, and I'm going to give you some top tips around delivering your pitch in person or online. So your live pitches that we've been focusing on so far through this course. And that relates to things like your body language, your tone of voice, and also how you can keep refining your pitch as well. So let's dive into what those tips will be. The first thing is to remember your P's. This is a really easy way to think about the key areas of your body language that's going to help make as much impact as possible. The first thing to think about is your position. Now, whether you are delivering in person or virtually, this is really key, because in person, it might be, and more often than not, that you're standing in front of a room full of people, whether that's a meeting room, whether that's a bigger stage and audience, depending on what the situation is. Or it might be that you're one-to-one in conversation with someone sitting down in a cafe or in a more informal setting. But think about your position and what the format of that meeting looks like, because that's going to really dictate it. Whatever it is, make sure that your position is open. Make sure that if you are standing up, you're nice and grounded on both feet. And also making sure that you're sort of using the space around you as best as possible. So you're not distracted with movements, you're centered, you're feeling good, you're feeling confident, and that position is showing that you've got this confident approach to your pitch. Linked to that is your posture. Now, as soon as I say the word posture, often when I'm delivering courses in person and live, everyone starts to sit up a bit straighter, their shoulders go back a little bit, their head might raise. And that's great, but think about doing that throughout your pitch as well. Have this open posture, try not to be too closed off, folding your arms, fiddling too much. That again could be quite distracting for our audience, but really making sure your posture is open and confident. If you can look confident, then hopefully that's going to help you to feel more confident internally as well. The next P after position and posture are the people around you. And what I mean by this is take notice of them, make that eye contact and that connection with your audience. Now, if you're in a one-to-one conversation, you don't want to stare the person out too much, but you want to make sure you're catching their eye. If you've got this room full of people, however many it might be, however few it might be, pick their eyes, catch their eyes throughout your presentation. Don't get into the habit of looking at your screen if it's behind you, or just looking down at one particular point. Engage your audience, and that's going to help them join you on that journey and really build that rapport with them. And then the final P for your body language are your physical gestures. Don't be afraid to use your hand gestures. Don't be afraid to think about your facial expressions and what this might mean in terms of the aim for your pitch. So if you're trying to excite someone about your product, or something's really quite positive in your pitch, then you might use your hand gestures to emphasize that, and your eyes might go a little bit wider, and all these expressions and these gestures match the aim of your talk. When you're talking about something a little bit more complicated, a little bit more complex, if you're taking them through how something works, then you might slow it down. You might not have as much animation in terms of your gestures and your expressions. It's all about trying to match it to the aim of your pitch. Going right back to what I said at the start, really think about the aim and your audience, and everything will start to flow from there. So those are just some top tips around your body language. And the same goes in terms of remembering your P's for your voice. Now, especially if you're delivering virtually, your voice carries a lot of weight. It does in person as well. But just like now, where I'm delivering to slides and I'm a little box in the corner of your screen, you're probably looking at what's on the screen more so than you're looking at me. So therefore, my voice needs to make sure it's got enough passion and personality into it to really keep you engaged throughout. It's the same if you're delivering your pitch virtually as well. So the first P for your voice is to think about projecting your voice. A lot of people think that the louder the voice, the better, but it's not about volume. It's about actually getting your voice across the room, not going up in volume. Now, saying that, if you have a naturally quiet voice, then you might want to work on raising that volume a little bit, but get some feedback on that and see if people can, and check in if people can hear you all okay. The main thing is to think about that you've got this room full of people and you can project your voice so the person at the back can hear you. And I use that visual representation when I'm presenting online as well, to make sure I'm projecting my voice so it comes across confident and compelling. The second P to think about for your voice is passion. I've mentioned this word already when I was speaking about getting your passion and your personality across. If you think about any podcast you listen to or the radio, we can't see the people behind them, but we can often hear their personality and the passion of what they're talking about just through their tone of voice. So whether that's emphasizing certain words, whether that's speeding up because you're excited about something and then slowing down a little bit, try to think about how you can get your passion and personality across in your voice. The third P is pitch. Another word for this might be that inflection. And the example I use, or the comparison I use here, is thinking about a heart rate monitor. When you look at that, you've got this line in the middle and the zigzags go up and down and up and down. Now that keeps that tempo of your voice as engaging as possible. What you're trying to avoid is having this monotone voice. Now, you might naturally have a monotone voice, and that's absolutely fine. It just means you might need to bring a little bit more emphasis and effort to really getting that rise and fall into your voice as well. And a great example, and what I've mentioned already, is emphasizing certain words and phrases, because that emphasis forces a change in your tone of voice. Make sure you're listening to yourself back. You can hear when something might need to be picked up a little bit and when you might need to put more effort into that pitch in your voice. And the final P are pauses. Never underestimate the power of pauses and silence when you're presenting. And don't forget, this is all building up to these live pitches that you're doing. Having some pauses in there can really be great for impact. So if you think about presenting the problem that you're solving at the early stages of your pitch, you might have some really powerful statistics. You might have a really compelling statement that you want to make. When you make that statement or reveal that statistic, just a few beats of silence can help make that land. And then you can move on from there. So silence can be really powerful, but also your pace. As I mentioned earlier, if you're excited, about what you're speaking about, you're trying to motivate someone and excite them about something, your pace might quicken a little bit. Not to the point where we get overexcited and we're talking way too quickly, but we balance that out with then slowing things down. So if we then go into a bit more of a complicated or complex piece of our pitch, we can then slow it down a little bit. If we've got a few key points we want to make, pause between those points. So pace can be really powerful when you're thinking about practicing your pitch and really coming across as compelling as possible. So those are your P's for your voice. And the final things to think about before I leave you on this course, to go ahead, put it all into practice and gain hopefully a lot of benefits from the pitch that you've developed, is to remind you to record, reflect, and refine. So when you are thinking about practicing, think about practicing live, and you could do that in a mirror, for example, you could do it out loud, but where you can, try to record yourself. And that goes for recording your voice and recording you on video at the same time. If you can really see yourself presenting, you're going to pick up on things like what works well with your body language, what might need to change a little bit. And you don't need to suddenly invent this hand gesture animated version of yourself. Stick to your personality and what works for you, but record yourself just to pick up on how you come across. And the same with an audio recording. If you're struggling to record yourself on video, at least do some voice notes and record your audio, because then you'll be able to pick up on if your voice is engaging, if you can hear that passion, and if it makes people want to carry on listening. So record yourself is a really key thing. You don't have to show those recordings to anyone as well. If it feels a bit cringy, they're just for you to give yourself some feedback to reflect on and then move forward. And that reflection piece relates to that feedback. So reflect on your recordings, but also get other people's feedback as well. Be brave and ask some people that you know are going to give you some constructive feedback and some honest feedback to listen to your pitch and give you that honest reflection as well. So record, reflect, and finally, with that feedback that you get from other people and the feedback that you notice for yourself, refine your pitch. It might be that you might need to make some tweaks to the content of your slide deck. It might mean that the script or things that you say might need changing a little so that you simplify the language or you add in a little bit of extra detail that might be missing. So record, reflect, refine. That's the key premise of the practice part. Think about the tips for your body language and your tone of voice as well, and you'll be well on your way to delivering a really great, impactful first pitch deck. All that's left for me to say is a huge congratulations. That is a wrap on this course. You've got your first pitch deck up and running. I would love to get your feedback and hear your thoughts. You can contact me at the email address there, and I wish you the best of luck with your future pitches as well. I'll see you soon.